Pineapple tart is the most traditional delicacy for Chinese New Year. In the Hokkien dialect, pineapple is read as Ong Lai, which basically means prosperity are arriving. The tarts I will be making today are most fitting for the occasions because they signify prosperity. Today though, I will be showing how to make the pineapple fillings from scratch, as well as 3 different types of pastry dough for 3 different types of presentation. First of all, let's go ahead and make the pineapple fillings. The ingredients for 3 whole pineapples, 1 cinnamon stick, 250 gram sugar, and 20 gram of butter. To core the pineapple, cut it lengthwise into quarters and then cut the core out of each quarter. We find that the best cuts for the pineapple is to actually shred them because we want to retain some fiber after cooking. So let's weigh how much we managed to yield from 3 pineapples. Okay, we managed to yield about less than a kilo. So meaning for the sugar, we will probably only use 250 grams of sugar. I will transfer the shredded pineapple into a cooking chef bowl. I'm using the flexi beater because it can withstand long hours of cooking. We set the timer to 1 hour. And at temperature of 100 degrees Celsius. So after cooking the pineapple for an hour, we will be adding in the sugar now. And then we will continue cooking for another 25 minutes or until the juice thickens and the sugar turns amber. I will now add in the cinnamon as well as the butter, and I will continue cook this for just about another 15 minutes until the filling starts to really thicken. This is how we would want the pineapple base to look like, orangey and golden. The taste should have a little hint of sourness and it should not be too sweet. Texture wise, it should retain a lot of the fiber and it should not be too sticky. What we want to do now is to allow it to completely cool down for almost 4 hours before rolling them as filling. First, we will start with making the flower blossom pineapple tarts. Now, this kind of pastry requires the dough to be quite solid because it needs to hold the pineapple in the cavity. And the ingredients are icing sugar, plain flour, milk powder, baking soda, cornstarch, butter, and egg. The key ingredients to make a crumbly tart is to use a very high quality cornstarch. And in Bestari, we have the answer for you. The best quality of cornstarch from Bestari, a little goes a long way as we only use 20 grams per recipe. Because of many types of flour and starches used in this recipe, it is advisable to sieve them together. I will start with the plain flour, the milk powder, the cornstarch, sieving will ensure of a more even crumb textures because we are using different types of starches. We start the process called creaming now by adding in butter and the icing sugar. With this, I will be using the classic K-beater. Because the butter is still cold at this stage, you will need a spatula to scrape the side of the bowl, and we will beat it another round. And we'll start with low to medium speed. So once the dough has been rested, we want to start cutting it out. I will first dust my working surface with some cornstarch, and I will bring my dough in, and with a rolling pin, I'll flatten this. You want to roll away from the middle, and you start from the middle and roll it towards you. You turn the dough around with the same rolling technique. Start from the middle, push the dough away and come back to the middle and pull it towards you. At this stage, the dough is very fragile, so please handle it with care. If you find the dough starts to stick onto your rolling pin, you can dust it with a little bit of corn flour. Okay, so this is about the thickness. Dust your cookie cutter, dust your tart cutter with a little bit of corn flour, and you want to press it gently onto the dough. There you go. You want to keep on cutting. Because the dough is very soft and fragile, you want to very carefully use a spatula to scrape to get this out from the dough. Fill the center of each flour tart with 5 grams of round pineapple jam and brush the pastry with egg wash. And bake in a preheated oven of 180 degrees Celsius for 20 minutes or until the tart starts to turn golden. I will be making the tart gulung nanas or raw pineapple tart, and the ingredients are plain flour, corn flour, santan powder, icing sugar, butter, and salted egg powder. For this recipe, we will be using the convenient way, which is using ready-made Bestari salted egg powder. Sieve all dry ingredients together except for the icing sugar. We want to start the creaming process. Place a room temperature butter into a KENWOOD bowl. Add in the icing sugar and start creaming. I use the flexi beater for this recipe. Properly creamed butter should be light and fluffy. The color should be pale yellow, and it should have increased in volume after beating it for around 1 to 2 minutes. Go add in the sifted flour at this stage. Next, I will fold the dry ingredients with the cream butter, doing this over medium speed. And if you find your dough to be a little bit on the dry side, just add in 1 tablespoon of coconut cream or whipped cream or anything that has a higher fat content. The dough now is ready to be filled into a pineapple tart tube. We will only need about 7.5 to 8 gram of pineapple jam filling for the tart gulong, but make sure they are shaped into tiny rods before rolling. Gently brush the tart gulong with egg wash before baking them in oven. The temperature for baking tart gulong is 170 to 180 degrees Celsius. The time is roughly about 20 minutes or 25 minutes or until the pastry starts to turn golden brown. The last recipe we will be making is a Suzhou puff pastry inspired tart. This recipe is inspired by the Chinese flaky pastry, where we will need to use two types of dough called the water and oil dough. But really, they are just an Asian version of puff pastry, where simple laminations of fat in between dough. The final product, we will expect it to be really flaky and crispy. For the water skin, plain flour, butter, water, and icing sugar. For the oil skin, low protein flour, plain flour, salted egg powder, and butter. Let's start with making the water skin. The dough should be soft, pliable, and easy to handle. Into the same bowl, we will be making the oil skin. Simply put all the ingredients required for oil skin into a bowl and start mixing them. We want the dough to be really crumbly. Divide the water skin into 15 gram each and the oil dough into 7.5 gram to 8 gram each. Flatten each piece of water dough into a flat circle. And place a piece of oil dough in the center. And you want to gather edges of water dough to enclose the oil dough. Repeat the same for the rest of the water and oil dough. And then cover the combined water and oil dough with a damp cloth to prevent the dough from drying out. For each of the combined dough, flatten and roll out on a lightly floured surface into a long rectangular shape with a rolling pin. You want to do this very gently. Then you want to roll up from one end to the other like a Swiss roll. Flatten out the dough again into a long rectangular shape, roll up like a Swiss roll again, and repeat for the rest of the combined dough. Cut each of the small roll dough into 2 equal halves with a sharp knife or a spatula. Now you can see the circles can clearly be seen on each piece of the cut dough. Then, to flatten each half of the cut dough, place cut side down on a lightly floured surface. Using a rolling pin or use your finger to press it flat and shape into a round shape with circles. And then you can fill with pineapple jam. We will only need 5 grams of pineapple jam for the filling in this flaky pastry. Brush the pastry with egg wash before baking them. Before baking, set the temperature to 200 degrees Celsius, as we need the dough to be flaky and crispy. The total baking time is 20 to 25 minutes.